Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever looked at the face online and wondered if it was real or just a super convincing computer creation? Well, today we're diving into some fascinating new research that tells us why some of us are way better than others at spotting these fake faces and what it reveals about our own brains. The title alone hooks you, right? It's like AI faces are almost too perfect to be real. Think about it, we see AI-generated faces everywhere now, on social media, in ads, sometimes even as profile pictures without us even knowing. And they're getting so good. The researchers in this study wanted to figure out if people who are naturally amazing at recognizing human faces also have a knack for spotting when a face isn't human. They call these people super recognizers. So, what's the big deal about AI faces? Well, for starters, they're becoming a real problem for security. Imagine fake identities being used for cyber attacks or spreading misinformation. The paper mentions scams costing billions each year. So, being able to tell a fake from a real face is becoming pretty important. Our brains are wired to understand faces. It's a super important skill for survival and social interaction. But now, AI has thrown a new curveball. These artificial faces are so realistic, people can't tell them apart from real ones. In fact, some studies even found that AI faces can seem more human-like than actual people's faces. That's a wild thought, right? In the past, spotting fake images involved looking for little mistakes like weird distortions or unnatural symmetry. Think of it like looking for blurry edges or odd pixelation in a typical photoshopped image. But AI is getting so good that these simple tricks are becoming less and less useful. So scientists are looking for deeper, more sophisticated ways to detect them. This is where our super recognizers come in. You know, those people who can remember everyone they've ever met after seeing them just once. They have an almost superpower ability to recognize faces. The researchers here hypothesized that these individuals might have an advantage when it comes to spotting AI faces, not just because they see details, but because they might understand faces on a deeper level. So, how did they test this? They gathered two groups of people. First, 36 super recognizers, people with truly exceptional face recognition skills. And second, 89 control participants who were pretty good at recognizing faces, but not at the super recognizer level. Think of it as a group of very competent face recognizers. They then showed these participants a mix of real human faces and AI-generated faces. The AI faces were created using a cool technology called StyleGun 2, and the real faces were carefully matched to the AI ones in terms of gender, pose, and expression to make things as tricky as possible. The goal was to make it really hard to tell the difference. Participants were shown one face at a time and had to decide if it was real or AI. They also rated how confident they were in their decision. This was repeated for 100 experimental trials with some attention-checking questions thrown in to make sure everyone was paying attention. Now, for the results, this is where it gets really interesting. The super recognizers absolutely outperformed the control group. By how much, you ask? The super recognizers were about 15% better than what was found in previous studies with typical participants and about 7% better than their own motivated control group. That might not sound like a huge jump, but in the world of face recognition, that is significant. The control group, on average, performed barely better than random guessing. The study showed that the better someone was at recognizing human faces in general, the better they were at spotting the AI faces. This wasn't just true for the super recognizers. As a separate group, when they looked at the control group, they found that even within that group, the people who scored higher on general face recognition tests were also better at distinguishing real from AI faces. This strongly suggests that the skills needed for exceptional face recognition are directly related to the ability to detect AI-generated faces. And here is another cool finding. The researchers explored the idea of the wisdom of crowds. Basically, if you combine the judgments of many people, the group's decision can be more accurate than any single person's. They found that when they aggregated the responses of a group of super recognizers, their AI face detection accuracy improved even further. But when they did the same for the control group, there wasn't much of a benefit. This suggests that super recognizers have a more unified and reliable way of judging, which is probably why their collective judgment is so powerful. So, why are super recognizers better? What are they seeing that others aren't? The study delved into this by looking at how different facial attributes influence their decisions. They found that super recognizers were particularly sensitive to something called face space centrality. Now, face space is a complex concept, but imagine it as a kind of map where every possible face falls somewhere. Real human faces, the researchers found, tend to be a bit more spread out on this map. AI-generated faces, however, tend to cluster very closely together in the center of this map. They are more average. The paper calls this hyper-average. This hyper-average quality is exactly what the super recognizers seem to pick up on. They were more likely to identify a face as AI if it was very central in face space, meaning it was very average-looking control participants. On the other hand, were not significantly affected by this average quality. They also seem to rely more on cues like youthfulness when making their decisions. This finding actually challenges some traditional ideas about how our brains represent faces. For a long time, scientists thought that the most common or typical faces would be right in the middle of our mental face. But this research suggests the opposite might be true for real human faces. They're actually less likely to be perfectly average AI faces, designed to be as convincing as possible, end up being too good to be true by being hyper-average. This is a really important distinction. It means that what makes a face seem typical or average might actually be a cue that it's not real super recognizers, with their finely tuned face recognition abilities, seem to have an innate understanding of the statistical boundaries of real human faces. So, what does this all mean? Firstly, it confirms that people with exceptional face recognition skills have an advantage in detecting AI-generated faces. Their ability to process faces deeply allows them to see patterns that others miss. However, the study also cautions that while super recognizers are better, their accuracy is still only modestly above chance, about 57% in this study, which is much lower than their performance on actual human face identification. This means that the mechanisms that make them great at recognizing people don't perfectly translate to detecting AI. There is still a lot of overlap between real and fake faces, making it a tough task even for experts. In conclusion, this study gives us a fascinating glimpse into the minds of super recognizers and how they tackle the new challenge of AI-generated faces. It highlights that our innate ability to recognize human faces is linked to our ability to spot artificial ones. The hyper-average nature of AI faces is a key differentiator, and super recognizers are better at using this as a cue. The implications are pretty big. For one, it means we shouldn't blindly trust AI-generated faces. Even if they look incredibly realistic, they have subtle statistical differences that our brains, especially expert brains, can pick up on. And for future research, well, it opens doors to exploring how training might help others improve their AI detection skills, or how combining human judgment with AI tools could lead to more reliable detection in the real world. Understanding who can detect these fakes and why is crucial as AI personas become more common in our lives. What are your thoughts on AI faces? Have you ever been fooled by one? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this dive into the science interesting, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more explorations into your amazing brain. We'll see you next time.